By the way, I saw your father recently, and he looks just as dumb as you. I bet he's just another high school graduate with no education. Isn't he? What did you just say? I couldn't suppress the surge of anger those words triggered. This guy, who had recently replaced the former company CEO, was the kind of man who looked down on others for their educational background. But insulting not just me, but my father as well? That was crossing the line. Do you even understand the difference between what you should and shouldn't say? And you, how dare you talk like that to the CEO? You're fired, you hear me? Fired. Fired. Just delete all the work data you've done so far and get out of the company. You're just a low education nobody. So your work probably wasn't worth much anyway. I had nothing left to say. If he wanted me to delete everything, fine. It was his decision. I wondered if he had any idea what would happen to the company because of his own command. He probably has never imagined it. My name is Alex. After graduating high school, I joined a logistics company and have been working there ever since. Originally, I had planned to go to a college in the city after high school. But I gave up on that path and chose to work instead for one simple reason. It all started when I was still a high school student. Alex, they found out your father is sick. What? Sick? Is he going to be okay? For now, yes, but he'll need to be hospitalized. No way. On my dad's side of the family, they've always been prone to health problems. My grandmother, my dad's mother, also succumbed to the same illness. I do remember hearing something like that before. At the time, it felt distant, like a story that could happen but wasn't really part of my reality. Now, seeing my dad fall ill, I was hit hard by the terrifying weight of our family's genetic history. If my dad has to be hospitalized, what are we going to do? About the house, about everything? I don't know what to do. My mom let out a weary sigh. It wasn't just my dad who had poor health in our family. My mom also struggled with health issues and couldn't work full-time outside the home. She could barely manage a part-time job, and it was clear she wouldn't be able to support the whole family. There was no way I could go to college in this situation. I've made up my mind. I'm going to get a job. What? But you always said you wanted to go to college. It's okay, you really don't have to worry about us. This isn't about worrying or not worrying. I want to work. Alex. Don't worry. I'll just start my career a little earlier than most people. It was true that I had wanted to go to college. But going to college costs a lot of money. My dad's hospital bills were piling up, and my mom could barely work. In that situation, going to college just wasn't an option for me. I owed them for everything they had done to raise me. Changing my path didn't feel like much of a sacrifice in that sense. The real challenge came after that. Because of the timing of my dad's illness, finding a job was incredibly difficult. Job hunting for high school graduates had long since ended, and companies that hired people like me were hard to come by. Well, technically, there were plenty of opportunities. But most of them were in construction, trucking, or caregiving, fields that demanded physical labor. If I didn't care about the type of job, I could have easily found work anywhere. However, probably due to my family background, I wasn't very physically strong, which was a major drawback. Time wasn't on my side, but if I rushed into a demanding job and ended up collapsing myself, it would defeat the entire purpose. I had to be careful and selective with my job search. Using employment offices and job search websites, I desperately looked for a job that suited me. That's when I found my current position at the logistics company. Logistics often brings to mind physical labor like transportation and processing. But back then, there happened to be an opening for an administrative role, so I applied for that position instead. With management and office work, I knew I could handle it. As it turned out, the job suited me perfectly. At first, I struggled to learn the ropes, but once I got used to it, it wasn't difficult at all. Sure, there were challenges, but compared to physical labor, it was much easier. Perhaps because I was a high school graduate, my colleagues often looked out for me. Hey Alex, you've already gotten this far? Yes. I figured I could finish it up quickly. You're a fast learner, it's a big help. But don't overwork yourself, make sure to take breaks, okay? Yes, I'll make sure to rest as I go. Your health is everything. Oh, here, you can have this. I got an extra one from the vending machine. Really? Thank you so much. Thanks to such supportive interactions, I quickly became part of the team. It wasn't just my effort, and it was proof that this is a good company. If it weren't, they wouldn't have taken the time to teach me thoroughly, nor would I have grown so much. Not only did my colleagues treat me kindly, but my work was also recognized, and I was gradually entrusted with more responsibilities. I found fulfillment in the work itself, and I genuinely felt I had made the right choice. Then one day, Mr. Kennedy, the CEO, is going to be hospitalized. What? Hospitalized? Is he going to be okay? Yeah, it's not an urgent illness, but he'll need to stay in the hospital for a while. Hospitalized? It immediately reminded me of my dad. Just like Mr. Kennedy, my dad had suddenly been hospitalized. It felt too close to home to brush off as someone else's problem. When I mentioned my father's situation, my colleague looked surprised. It's the same illness as Mr. Kennedy's. Really? Yeah. I hope your dad recovers soon, Alex. Thank you. But what's going to happen to our company while Mr. Kennedy is in the hospital? Don't worry about that. It seems his son will be stepping in as the new CEO. He has a son? That was news to me. However, Mr. Kennedy is at an age where having children wouldn't be surprising. It makes sense that he has a son. His son's name was Randall. He was 3 years older than me, so not much of an age gap. His father had fallen ill with the same condition, and he was around my age. That made me feel a certain sense of kinship with him. He had been working at a small company until now, but his father's illness prompted him to resign. It seems he's joining our company as a result. I wondered what kind of person he was. Then, the day finally came. I noticed someone unfamiliar at the company and quickly realized it was Randall, the new CEO. I decided to introduce myself and walked over to him. Nice to meet you. You're the new CEO, Randall, right? I'm Alex. Alex? Instead of responding to my greeting, he blatantly stared me up and down. What's going on? Did I do something strange? Or is there something on me? Just as I was about to check myself, Randall suddenly snorted with laughter. Oh, I know who you are. You're Alex, the high school graduate, right? What? A mere high school graduate? How did someone like you even get hired here? Was my dad blind when he made that decision? What do you mean by that? It means having someone as uneducated as you here is embarrassing. And not understanding that is exactly why you've stayed so low on the ladder. I couldn't believe it. Was he seriously insulting me the first time we met? And over my education, no less. Stunned by the sheer audacity of his words, I stood frozen as Randall turned and walked away without another glance. I never expected to be insulted like that. From that moment on, Randall's attitude toward me remained consistently condescending and dismissive. One day, despite there being janitorial staff, I was made to clean the restroom with the remark, "There's no work suited for someone with low education." On another day, I was handed menial tasks that someone else should have done, with the excuse, "I'd rather give work to someone with a proper education." And that wasn't all. Even though I had made it clear I couldn't do physical labor, he still made me organize the warehouse. To be treated so differently just because of my education. It was unbelievable. I wanted to complain, but he was the new CEO, after all. Not to mention, he was the son of Mr. Kennedy, someone I deeply respected. Swallowing all the things I wanted to say, I continued to do the work as Randall demanded. By the way, I saw your dad. It came out of nowhere. Randall approached me with a smug grin, and I braced myself, thinking he was about to dump more chores on me, but instead, he said this. You saw my dad. Where? At the hospital. I saw him when I was visiting my dad. I knew they had the same illness, but I didn't expect them to be in the same hospital. While I was still processing this, Randall continued. He looked as dumb as you do. I bet he's just another high school graduate. Or maybe he didn't even finish high school? His words dripped with condescension, and I couldn't hold back anymore. He could say whatever he wanted about me. But dragging my father into it, insulting him for no reason? That was too much. You're crossing the line. What do you even know about my father? What? I'm just stating facts. You don't even know the truth. All you do is throw insults. Can't you tell the difference between what's acceptable and what's not? Shut up. And you, how dare you speak to the CEO like that? Do you even know your place? This isn't about titles or education. This is about basic human decency. Always acting so self-righteous. Someone like you, who can't even speak respectfully to the CEO, is fired. Get out of my company. Randall raised his voice as if to declare I was in the wrong. Fired over this? It was absurd. Clearly, he was the one out of line. His face flushed with anger, Randall spat his next words at me. People like you with no education don't leave behind anything of value. Delete all the data from your work and get out of here immediately. All the data? Yeah. Your work doesn't contribute to the company's profit anyway. Low education and useless work just take up space. So delete it all and leave. Are you sure about that? What, still talking back to me? No, it's fine. I understand. I'll delete everything and leave the company. I had so much I wanted to say. But it was pointless. Anything I said would fall on deaf ears with him. So I did as I was told, deleted all the work data I had accumulated, and left the company. Well, since I'm on my way home anyway, I might as well stop by the hospital. Normally, I wouldn't make it in time for visiting hours, but getting fired has freed up my schedule. What a cruel irony. I never thought it would come to this. What should I even say? After picking up some fruit as a gift, I headed to my dad's hospital room. He looked surprised when he saw me. Alex? What are you doing here at this hour? What about work? I got fired. I told him everything that had happened, hiding nothing. He probably never imagined I'd be fired for such a ridiculous reason. My dad was speechless the entire time. I still couldn't believe it myself. When I finished explaining, my dad looked at me with a mix of sympathy and disbelief. I can't believe something like that happened. Yeah, me neither. But it's fine, so I'll just start job hunting again. No, you won't need to. There's a place you can work. What? The next day, my phone buzzed with an incoming call. When I checked the screen, Randall's name was displayed. Might as well pick up the phone. Hello? Alex. What's going on? What are you talking about? Don't play dumb. The inventory management system isn't working. You did this, didn't you? Oh, that. You're the one who told me to delete all the data, remember? Alex. I was simply following orders when I was told, delete all the data and leave the company. I even double-checked to make sure they were serious. By now, the company must be flooded with complaints. After all, the system is used by 4,200 companies. If it suddenly stops working, it's not just our company that's in trouble. I've always had a good memory. Maybe my brain developed to compensate for my weak body. For that, I'm truly grateful. I used that sharp memory to start learning programming back in middle school. Thinking it might be useful for work one day, I actively studied and built up my knowledge. And in this company, I finally got the chance to put my programming skills to use. I developed an inventory management system that was far more efficient than anything offered by other companies. In other words, the system this company relies on was created by me. So, when he told me to delete all the data, the system itself was included in that. Though, I might have gone too far. It's not right to cause so much trouble for everyone. I'll head back now and restore everything. Hurry up and get here. I couldn't help but notice how arrogant Randall was acting, but I reluctantly returned to the office. Thankfully, I had kept a backup, so restoring the system was successful. However, one question lingered in my mind. Why didn't you use the backup I told you about? As I pondered this, a senior colleague approached me and quietly explained. He didn't want to rely on you and hired a cheap contractor to restore the system. What? But the contractor botched it, making things worse. The problem escalated, and he had no choice but to call you. Honestly, is he an idiot? His unnecessary pride only caused more damage. I was too stunned to even respond. Well, the system is restored now. This is all your fault. What? Because of you, we've suffered massive losses. What are you going to do about it? My fault. You're responsible. You'll pay the damages, no matter what. You've got to be kidding me. He was the one who messed up the system without even listening to me first. Since I was fired, I'm no longer an employee here. I don't owe them anything, not even the effort I've put in so far. Yet instead of gratitude, he's demanding compensation? As I stood there, dumbfounded, someone who wasn't supposed to be here suddenly appeared. Don't spout nonsense. This isn't his fault, but it's yours, a voice declared. Dad? Why are you here? Standing there was none other than Mr. Kennedy. Even Randall, who always acted so confident, looked visibly shaken. It turned out that on the day I told my father everything in the hospital, Mr. Kennedy had overheard the conversation. I never imagined they were in the same hospital room. At this point, it felt like fate had intervened. Hearing about Randall's outrageous behavior, Mr. Kennedy was deeply disappointed. As his only son, Mr. Kennedy had worked hard to ensure Randall could attend a good college. He used to be a diligent student, and his efforts paid off when he got into college. He successfully completed his degree and graduated. But perhaps the diligence had backfired, turning him into an elitist obsessed with academic backgrounds. Since Randall had never displayed this attitude in front of his father, Mr. Kennedy had no idea how bad it was. He apologized to me repeatedly, and though I wasn't at fault, it made me uncomfortable. There's something awkward about being bowed to by someone you respect so much. After hearing the full story, Mr. Kennedy couldn't stand by any longer, which is why he showed up at the company that day. I've heard everything from Alex. I had no idea you'd sunk so low. What are you talking about? This disaster is the result of your obsession with academic credentials. You'll take responsibility for it. Why should I have to take responsibility? Still don't get it? You're so fixated on academic achievement that you've lost sight of what truly matters. Enough is enough. Dad, the conversation is over. You've disappointed me. Not only will you leave the company, but you'll also leave my house. No, this can't be. In the aftermath, the company went bankrupt. The damage from the incident spread far beyond just this company. The financial losses were so severe that recovery was impossible. However, Mr. Kennedy had been quietly working on a certain plan behind the scenes. It was the launch of a new business venture. The place to work my dad mentioned that day in the hospital was referring to this project. Apparently, Mr. Kennedy had been preparing for the new business for some time but was unfortunately struck by illness midway through. Even while recovering, he continued to move the project forward with the help of others. When Mr. Kennedy was discharged from the hospital, the new company was officially established. Although the previous company went bankrupt, all of us employees transitioned to the new company, avoiding unemployment. At first, I wasn't sure how things would turn out, but I'm truly grateful for Mr. Kennedy's foresight and efforts. The other employees were overjoyed, enthusiastically declaring to Mr. Kennedy, "Long live the CEO, and we'll follow you forever." And the good news didn't stop there. "Dad, congratulations on your discharge." "Ah, thank you. Sorry for causing so much trouble." "It's fine. You were sick, so there was nothing you could have done about it." Yes, my dad had finished his treatment and was finally discharged from the hospital. Although he'd still need follow-ups, there were no major aftereffects. I was so relieved he could come home safely. By the way, about the future. The future? Mr. Kennedy reached out to me. He said if I couldn't go back to my old job, I could join his new company instead. Really? Yes. I couldn't believe Mr. Kennedy had even made such an offer to my dad. It was true that after a long hospital stay, returning to his previous job would be difficult. That's why this offer must have been such a relief for my dad. After that, we started working at the new company that Mr. Kennedy had founded. I continued to use my programming skills to develop new systems. Improving efficiency and processes in the workplace was certainly important. But I had a specific goal I wanted to achieve. I aimed to create a system that allowed people to work from anywhere. There are many people who, for various reasons, can't work in a traditional office setting. I believed this system was necessary to ensure their skills and passion wouldn't be wasted. When I proposed the idea, Mr. Kennedy immediately agreed, and I began development without delay. It took some time, but the system was finally completed. By promoting this system, we were able to attract talented individuals who couldn't physically come to an office, and they joined the company. There are surprisingly many people who want to work but can't. People like my family, who are physically weak, or those who can't commit to long-term employment, are all around us. Thanks to this initiative, the company grew even more and became a well-known name in the industry. Alex, thank you so much. Because of you, we've been able to recruit incredible talent and grow as a company. No, I should be the one thanking you. If you hadn't let me join, I wouldn't have been able to contribute. I guess that means I had a good eye for talent. You certainly did. At that, Mr. Kennedy's expression turned serious. Then, can I trust my judgment and ask you for something important? Yes? I'd like to name you as the next CEO of this company. What? I believe you're the right person for the job. You dedicate yourself wholeheartedly to what you do and inspire those around you. That's the kind of leader this company needs. All right. I may still be inexperienced, but for the future of this company, I'll give it my all. Having praised his judgment, I couldn't exactly refuse. He got the better of me there. Still, being recognized for my abilities was genuinely gratifying. From here on, I want to continue creating an environment where everyone can shine and make the most of their talents.